What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the weekly review show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and tell you whether it's something that I think you should pick up or not. What we're going to be doing is talking about Batman number 11. So Batman number 11 is part 3 of the I Am Suicide arc, and we're really getting into the heart of this overall story. I did a review of Batman number 10 2 weeks ago, and I really thought that we were going to be seeing a little bit more storyline between Batman and Catwoman, and I was not disappointed in Batman number 11. So when we start off, we're going to be still invading Santa Prisca, and what we see is that Batman, Catwoman, and the ventriloquist are on their way, but the scene really opens up with a back and forth game between Batman and Selina Kyle on the streets of Gotham. This is before she was put away in Arkham, and he's trying to apprehend her and take her in for these crimes that she's done, these 237 murders. But ultimately, he's trying to console her. We see that this interpersonal relationship between Batman and Catwoman is definitely playing, factors into this whole circumstance. As we move through the prison, we see the intelligence that Punchy's brought to the table, the only man to escape Santa Prisca, is very valuable and leads them to where they need to go. However, that doesn't answer the question, where is Punchy and Jewelee and, Bronze Tiger? Where are these guys? Well, they're knocking on the front door, evidently, because they've brought these two characters that are, I'm not going to lie, they're not necessarily entertaining. They just felt a little bit forced. The overall dialogue between Punchy, Jewelee, and Bronze Tiger was a little bit... It was probably the weakest point of the book, but luckily it only lasted a few pages. And ultimately, it's probably not going to show up ever again. But what we see is that as this thing's going on, you've got Selina and the ventriloquist making their way through the inner bowels of Santa Prisca, and we get a little bit of an idea as to what the ventriloquist's base powers are and how he kind of perceives himself. Selina's just like, so really the puppet, Scarface, that's you, right? And he's just like, no, Scarface is a puppet. He tells me what to do. It's just like, I'm not a monster, he's a monster. It's just like, okay, whatever, guy. But I really love the art in this panel by Mikel Janin. It's a fantastic representation, and it kind of plays with your mind a little bit. It's almost like a really odd kind of drawing where it warps your perspective, but I really like how they're crawling through and making this progress through the inner bowels in this set of panels. We also see the setup where essentially Selina and the ventriloquist get to where they're going, but we all know that she's not necessarily going to follow through with Batman's part of the plan. And that's where things get a little crazy. Bronze Tiger, Jewelee, and Punchy, they're in front of Bane. He's offering them, the only man to ever escape Santa Prisca, bringing them as an offering, him and the woman that he loves. And then ultimately, Selina comes out of nowhere, and she's just got claws out, man. And I mean, this is quite possibly one of my most intense reactions to this, because I knew it was coming. But ultimately, the fact that she goes about it, and she goes about it in a vicious and violent way, it is... Absolutely, I was just like, don't do that, it just feels irredeemable. And that's the problem, because, you want to have this kind of success moment. You want to have this ability for Batman to be like, you know what, I forgive you, but ultimately, we saw that he's unhinged enough to fly a plane in alone, get his back broken, reset his own spine, and crawl out of a dungeon to try and infiltrate this place. But ultimately, that he might be able to forgive somebody that just murdered part of his team in cold blood. Like, that is just ridiculous, everything that's gone into there. As far as the way that the story's going, I really like the way that Tom King's setting this up, and I really hope that he can kind of pull some sort of twist out of his bag of tricks in order to make sure that this is a little bit more kosher or on the up and up, because there's still 2 more issues in this storyline as well as an epilogue. So we've got 12, 13, and 14 telling the final story between Batman and Catwoman, so I'm really excited to see where this goes before we kind of get out of this I Am Suicide arc. Overall, it still looks to be a winner, and one of the things that's the most winning about it is definitely Mikel Janin's art. There are moments where it's just like, it feels a little static, it feels a little bit clean and clinical, but that's his style. And ultimately, when it comes to Selina, as soon as she takes off her mask, or even when she's in her mask, it just stunning. It makes me a little sad that he's not necessarily going to be on the book very frequently, but the best part about it is that David Finch has a very good and powerful art style. Mikel Janin has got a very clean and actionable art style. Once you get into the action scenes, the cleanliness of the art actually really picks up and really enhances the inherent violent or the action-based pieces. I mean, the whole situation between Batman and Catwoman at the beginning was a great artistic piece. That I really enjoyed. So that was definitely a really cool thing. And then, of course, you've got the maze-like structure of pipes, which is really cool, too. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that how is Batman going to be dealing with this betrayal moving forward? And where is that going to leave the relationship and the overall scope of the mission? You know, they're here for Claire. And if you forgot who Claire is, Claire's Gotham Girl. She's the girl that was infected by Psycho Pirate. She's the girl that went to help them with Night of the Monster Men, that she can have the power of a god for a minute, or she can have, you know, like the life of a human for the rest of her life. And he's here to try and rescue this poor creature that's sitting in the Batcave, freaking herself out. And we're totally getting lost in this Batman, Catwoman, overall Suicide Squad arc, because that's the real purpose behind it. And I think that's just Tom King saying, like, hey man, throwing you a curveball, throwing you another curveball, throwing you another curveball, keeping you interested, and making sure that everything feels really fresh. And I really appreciate that about the story. Overall, I can't recommend Batman enough. It's definitely a book that you're going to want to keep reading, especially as things move forward, because this was a game changer between one of the biggest relationships in DC Comics. So that's my review of Batman number 11, but I want to know what you guys thought too, so hit me up in the comments down below and let me know what you think. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.